this week's Tech Panel, I'm joined by Rupert Mills.
Hey Sam.
And we're both joined by Paul Carey, Senior Technical Consultant.
Hi Sam.
And Doug Elsley, Microsoft Practice Manager.
Hi.
So chaps, today we're discussing Microsoft Modern Workplace or Modern Work. We can probably get a few sentences from you
Sure.
on that as well. And as always, Rupert, I'm going to chuck it over to you to give us some bullet points to form the conversation around.
Sure. Yeah, so I think we're going to talk about productivity tools for 365 and extra stuff you can do in Teams. So I think lots of people use Teams now, but some of the extra stuff you can do in it. We're going to have a quick recap on enterprise mobility and security, and then we'll talk a bit about Azure and the Power Platform and the things available within that. So that's kind of the three things for today.
Cool. So starting with those productivity tools, shall I look to my left? Doug, should we start with you? Around your thoughts, I know you've introduced us to some new things using the Viva tool and whatnot. I guess it's as good a place as any to start with the Microsoft stack.
Yeah, I think traditionally what tends to happen is people kind of remember Microsoft as being Office and Word and PowerPoint and those bits and pieces, and it's dramatically changed. So some of the things around employee experience, we've seen Teams take on a lot since COVID and working from home remotely and stuff. That gives the ability for effective meetings and live meetings and other bits and pieces around that, but also being able to look at productivity as a general tool from a business point of view. So how are people interacting with each other? Are they attending meetings correctly? Are they working with inside meetings? Are they working outside of hours and things like that? So the Viva toolset is part of that, is built around those analytics. But also discovery of talent within inside the organisation. As organisations grow from 50 to 100 or 100 to 500, whatever it is, you tend to lose some of the specialisations because they're scattered around the business. So being able to have a tool like Yammer, there's a Viva version of what Yammer's turned into, to find and discover where are my best talent, what are they good at, what are we talking about, and having much better collaboration in the business is really key to what productivity is now.
Yeah, so I guess we're taking the ability to work remote, it's expanding on that. So we're now digging into the data, who's doing what, where. You mentioned earlier, am I multitasking in a meeting? So is that a relevant meeting, or should I be? It's not great that I'm multitasking potentially, because I'm then not engaged in that meeting.
Correct, yeah.
And then what people are doing around the environment and how the business could benefit from focusing on I guess, some of that talent.
Yeah, indeed. As I said, and you're very right. You know, even if you look at yourself personally, am I multitasking in meetings? It's not just managers looking at employees. It's self-reflection to say, is this the right meeting for me? Should I be changing that to 30 minutes because I switched off after a certain amount of time? So using those tools are very, very important. And I think especially with the remote working, we were talking about Viva and Teams and stuff. People don't always, if they're not in the office, they can't go and walk over and go and see someone, or someone new comes in. Having that ability to collaborate and maybe have, we have a lot of video calls and video meetings, but also start thinking about Teams chat meetings, having 3 or 4 people talking together in a chat, because your brain power kind of switches off sometimes and comes in bursts. So brain thinking is equally, I just thought of this, putting that into a meeting and having that form as productivity and collaboration is really, really important as well.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So Paul, you were saying something about when you sort of that chat meeting and having people on a chat meeting. You were talking the other day about integrating things like ChatGPT into Teams as well, weren't you?
Yeah, and that's coming along as well. Microsoft are developing a ChatGPT agent to integrate into Teams. Where people can keep chatting at that level, at the level in ChatGPT to...
It'll be intriguing to see if you can use ChatGPT as like an additional participant in the meetings later on. If you can, because the group meetings you're talking about there, I've done those where you sort of sit and you've got a group chat going, and then if you could potentially add that bot in as another person and use it as like a source of fact and stuff like that to be able to say,
Does that not
concierge
get skewed? I mean, we make the assumption that everything in ChatGPT is indeed fact. It's just a massive learning model that's taking stuff from the internet. At that point, we said by proxy, we say, well, the internet is all fact. So I'm pretty sure that it's not, right? So then we talked about a customer of ours that's looking to kind of internalise some of the utility of ChatGPT on their own data, linking it. Stop me at any point if I'm speaking out of pocket on any of this, but coupling it, augmenting it with ChatGPT, but building their own, how would you call it? I guess their own mini ChatGPT on their own knowledge base. Correct?
Yeah. I think when we come into the Power Platform stuff and the Azure stuff, we'll talk about that in a bit more detail. But absolutely, they're talking about how to use it internally without sending that data externally, which is I think part of that conversation.
And I think a feed into that just quickly is also people don't record meetings as much. So again, the AI using transcription, people that miss the meetings or want to catch up, or if they have, especially when we look at DEI, so inclusion to people that maybe don't want to attend the meetings or for whatever reason, they can go back and look through that and read that and get themselves up to speed and also keep notes. And that's again where the AI element will take data out of those meetings and then start to look at how do I use it in other products and how do I create notes from those meetings automatically as part of the AI methodology.
That's all part of the Copilot stuff.
Yes, indeed, yeah. Copilot builds directly into employee experience and modern working and productivity as well.
Yeah.
That's really useful, especially meeting transcripts. The amount of times you come out of a meeting and go, who was doing what and so on.
Yeah.
And I guess you can now leverage out some of the AI stuff that it will work out who is doing what and then send the meeting notes to say, actually, well, Doug said he was doing that. Sam unfortunately had several actions. He said he would do stuff by a certain date, but if it captures that, it's not the big brother bit. I think it's really useful. I personally would love to come out of a meeting with that. But to get the email after me saying that these were your actions, you said you're doing by that date, if it can be really clever and actually also scheduled your time in your diary when you were free to do these things, etc. That's really handy.
Yeah. I was chatting to someone about this the other day. As an interesting side note that you're going to be able to get Copilot to sort of report on a meeting back to you if you miss the meeting, to be able to say, right, this is what was discussed, this is the theories.
You've got 17 actions.
Well,
for not attending.
Potentially, but I could also see another concern where actually this was who was against 4 items, this was who was against items, etc., etc., etc. So people will go, okay, I probably won't attend that meeting because I don't need to. And I wonder at which point you get to the point where the only person in the meeting is like Copilot. Because everybody's going, I'll just get the notes from Copilot later. Oh, hang on. Nobody actually discussed anything. Copilot's made all the decisions.
Everything. And it's really good. No need for people.
So, no need for people is probably not where we need to be going.
No, not at all. No, it has to be based on something.
Wandering around at some point.
Cool. Well, I've enforced reminders to go to the meetings that you said you go to.
That's it.
But it's not.
But that's the Viva thing, isn't it? Again, of making sure you attend the meetings properly.
And the right meetings and do the right thing.
So, Doug, with Viva, how do people get access to Viva? Because, I mean, we've seen in emails the notes alongside saying, right, actually, this is how many people you interacted with last week, how many interruptions you had outside of. But presumably, is that then meaning Viva's there all the time, or how does it work for HR departments or whatever to get access to?
Yeah, I mean, Viva's there in the background. So if you're looking at business standard premium and then into the E3 and E5 suites and those that sit around them and some of the other SKUs, but we won't go into those. It's a technology that's built into the background. Fundamentally, there's a SharePoint element that builds in the background that actually takes the teams, the collaboration, the data, the sharing of files and other bits and pieces. But when that data is then compiled, the analytics are built in the back end through Office 365 to produce these data and give you workplace analytics style data. And again, as you just pointed out, it's we're talking to IT people inside this, but actually taking on projects that involve HR and actually building those collaborations around employee experience is really important as well.
Yeah, cool.
Interesting. Okay. Just think we need to get through some of the bullet points and now looking at the enterprise mobility and security bit. Who wants to grab that and give us a point to start from?
Well, I think it sits in both areas. Most people are aware of enterprise mobility as part of productivity as well, working from home, working remotely. And I know, Paul, you've been doing bits and pieces with other customers around some of the collaboration work that we do with customers about how do we deliver laptops to customers remotely, and how do they build them, how do they onboard those devices with inside them, how do you get the applications down to them, and then also other parts of that is your mobile phone, if it's a personal or a corporate one. Do people trust using their personal devices within inside a corporate environment? So how do we look at mobile application management that doesn't actually install management onto the device? It's built into the application, so you've got the ability to separate corporate and work data and stop data moving between that personal and that work environment, and vice versa if you want to control that. Through data loss and prevention, but certainly from an autopilot point of view, being able to deliver a laptop to someone at home and then build it automatically and onboard it and enroll it is probably something you can talk to from some of your experience of implementing those things.
Yes, we've recently worked for a customer to provide a number of laptops to them, large number of laptops to them, where everything needed to work from day one. There's a migration process for them from an old provider. And using Autopilot and Intune, we could have the laptops as they came out of the box from Dell. We could have them automatically joined onto the customer's network, applications deployed to them, and the environment set up for them as they needed. We could apply group policies to machines as well. We could have them automatically connected to the VPN that they needed to access the on-premise resources. And we could automate all of that through Autopilot and Intune, combination of both of them. So it cut our work down significantly and was able to give a uniform presentation of laptops to the staff as they came to log on to them for the first time. And it worked extremely well. Staff were able to work on a fully migrated platform the day of the go live process finishing. It was swift, it was efficient, and it saved us a lot of time.
And even probably the other, and from the employee's point of view, actually, not having to build that and put all the IT teams to create a new build image, gold image. I know that these things have been discussed before, but that whole process is just shipping a device to an end user, and you can assign. I know you can assign the device to a user, so it'll say "Welcome, Doug" as part of your opening screen, or it can say, Krome, please enter your ID. So that personalization, so a new employee that joins a company, something they get a real personal experience saying, welcome on board and everything else. It's a really nice experience to go through that process.
Yeah, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, this would have taken a team of people to get these laptops built, a large number of laptops to build for a customer. And now it's effectively one or two people just scripting it and letting the laptops build themselves almost.
Yeah.
Moving these things forwards, it's impressive when sort of the technology actually works in that fashion and works correctly, isn't it?
It's always nice.
Yeah. I think we've done a video on that.
Yeah,
before.
yeah,
Link to it.
Yeah.
Cool.
You've had to do the YouTube point your link thing. Please don't.
It's up there, but
Yeah. Conscious of time, we've got a few minutes left, so we need to, jump into the third bullet point around Azure and Power Apps and so on. I don't know who wants to grab the hot potato on that one.
I don't mind starting it. So I think there's a conversation now of, I think the industry term sort of low code, no code type stuff that's going on, and enabling people who historically would have sent things out to a dev team to do stuff. We've seen this sort of stuff in the past, but it's kind of a modern flavour on it, so to speak. It's like an Excel macro many years ago or something like that. It's a similar idea now. You put the tools in the hands of the people doing the work rather than into a dev team or whatever. So I know, Paul, you've been doing a bit with sort of some of the Power Platform recently. Do you want to talk around some of it?
Yeah, we have done. So yeah, we've been using Power Apps and Power Automate a lot more recently. Power Automate they're all applications that are allowing non-developers to create applications and code, and allowing them to use their logic capabilities to create applications without actually being a developer and having that development background. So Power Apps, we're able to link that to multiple data sources and create applications from that. So we could link it to SQL servers, CSV files, Excel spreadsheets, Mongo databases, and just have an application front end built by a non-developer performing business functions. And these can be very, very powerful. Alongside Power Automate, which is it's equivalent to task scheduler, I guess, in the Azure world, and we'll look for an action and triggers and be able to go and implement a task for you and kick off a task for you. And you can have Power Apps and Power Automate talking to each other. Also with Power BI, that will collate data from multiple data sources and present business reports to customers and business leaders. And with Power Automate, Power Apps, Power BI, you can have all of these talking to each other and be able to present applications to the business to perform functions which would otherwise take a lot more time. An example could be moving attachments out of emails for the whole of a company and putting it to users' individual OneDrives, save space and exchange online. But there's many other capabilities of it and uses for it.
Yeah, we're seeing loads of people start to pick this sort of stuff up, including us internally. We've historically had a lot of dev work taking place in the background, and we're still doing that. There's still case for traditional dev, but actually in the Power platform, it's the case of saying, right, this piece needs someone to go off and develop something specifically to do it. Actually, this integration's pretty much already there. I was chatting with our FD the other day about doing automated import of invoices, for example, when suppliers send us emails with invoices on, bringing those into our finance system automatically. And he was, we were talking about getting someone to sit and dev it because we'd been out twice to the market to try and find tools to do it. And actually, we said, well, let's take a look at Power Automate, and there was some stuff in Power Automate already pre-written, and he managed to get a working test case of it built in a morning. Basically, it's like, I've given it an example. You train it on some of these, and away it goes. It's like, actually, that would probably have gone off to be developed for some time.
At some cost.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's still case for dev, and there always will be. Yeah. But using that sort of stuff, and then Microsoft is starting to plug AI into it. So, and that's back to your conversation earlier of customers saying, okay, we want to use AI, but there is, if you look at OpenAI versus Microsoft being the biggest investor in OpenAI, and OpenAI saying, oh, the data's safe and we don't take any of your data, and Microsoft saying, well, if you don't want your data taken by OpenAI and used to help improve their model, then we've got a commercial offering for you around that, and sort of the Azure Azure version of ChatGPT, for want of a better way of putting it. So we're in the process of implementing that for some customers at the moment, which is them saying, I want all the team to be able to use this, but we've put a corporate ban on ChatGPT. Yep. This is a big multinational organisation we work with. What we want to do is enable that. So Copilot starts to bring that in some of the base apps, but also if people want to get a bit more clever with it and start using it to do other things, then you start to use the Azure OpenAI stuff to do that.
Yeah. And you could have Azure OpenAI services looking at your SharePoint servers or file servers, and all the data is contained within Azure, and it's not leaked out to OpenAI on the internet and ChatGPT. It's all within your control. Yeah. And it will empower users in this company to go off and search for specific content and help them develop a solution using ChatGPT and just in a secure fashion.
Yeah, absolutely. Inside your corporate container.
Yeah.
There's a cost for it, obviously. It's an Azure runtime cost, but it's not expensive compared to what we thought it was going to be when we started looking at it for clients. It's actually very cost effective because it's charged per sort of transaction or whatever. So it's quite cost effective to do.
Brilliant. Well, thank you, guys. That's, as always, very interesting. Welcome to the podcast, Doug. We'll see you again. We'll see you again, Paul.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers, guys. And thank you for joining us again on Krome Cast Tech-IT-Out. Remember to like, subscribe and share, and leave comments in the section below for anything you'd like the panel to discuss on future podcasts. Thanks again. Take it out.